Welcome to an introduction to Creo parametric 3D solid modeling. The assembly you need to make is this press plate that you can see in front of you. This consists of 3 plates, also 4 corner posts which are exactly the same, so we just need to make one of them, and then the main shaft going through the center that controls the movement of the plate. You'll be able to see that the 3 plates are very similar, just they all have different holes through the centers of them. So what we're going to do is model one plate and then do a save as, and we'll save it as base plate, middle plate and top plate. We will then make the corner posts, which are named part 6, and also the main shaft, which is named part 7. Start Creo parametric, double click on it and wait for the program to start. I'm going to maximize the page up. Left click on maximize. And the first thing we need to do is set the working directory. Let's go to select working directory, left click. Now you will need to set the working directory into the shared area, which is probably best done by using the folder tree and then navigate your way to the shared area. I'm going to create a part on the desktop. Select desktop. Then I've made myself a folder called press plate. Double click it and just say OK to it. When you're modeling the part, you will never see any parts inside here. This is just setting the folder. Say OK to it. You should be notified down the bottom of the page that you've successfully changed the working directory. Let's go and create our first part. Let's go to New. Name it base plate. Now Creo doesn't accept any spaces, so I'm going to name it base underscore plate. Leave the default template checked and say OK. The base plate is a really simple part to get started with. It's just going to be an extrude onto the top datum plane that's 100 millimeters square. We'll then come back into the 3D environment and extrude it up 10 mil. Left click away in space to make sure nothing's selected. Select extrude and come and hover over the top datum plane. Left click onto it. You can now see the dashboard has changed into the 2D sketching environment. This area is called Sketcher. I can rotate the view using this icon here, the sketch view icon, so I'm looking directly onto the top datum plane as though in a plan view. As I said earlier, the shape is a basic rectangle or a square 100 by 100. I want to draw a simple rectangle, but rather than use the corner rectangle, I'm going to click onto the drop down browser and come down to the center rectangle. This will start a rectangle from my first initial click point. If I bring the cursor down, you'll notice the cursor has changed into crosshairs and it will snap to the vertical reference plane. If I bring it to the horizontal one, it will also snap to the horizontal reference plane. Therefore it will snap to the intersection of the 2 reference planes. Left click once. Release the mouse button, you don't have to click and drag, it's just left click once to start it, left click once to finish it. Move the cursor out into space and then left click again. This is about just sketching first and sizing afterwards, so I've just drawn the rectangle any size at the moment. As soon as I go to my select arrow and left click onto it, dimensions are provided for me. Hover over the horizontal one, double click it, type in 100 and enter. Do exactly the same for the vertical one, double click 100 and enter. Left click onto the green tick to take you back into the 3D environment. And we're going to turn our view back to trimetric. Go to AB, your named views, left click onto the drop down, and I'm going to scroll down to trimetric. I want to give my extrude a height of 10 mil. I'm going to do this in the dashboard. Select it, type in 10 and enter. I'm going to green tick to accept it and refit to the screen. We know the part has a hole in each of the 4 corners. If we put a hole into this plate, which is our base plate, we can then modify the hole for the middle plate. Let's go and put the holes in. Click away in space to deselect everything. Select extrude and select the top surface. Make sure you get the surface and not the datum plane. Select the surface and click onto sketch view again. What we're going to do is draw 2 circles and then mirror them around our center reference plane. The holes are all symmetric, so we're going to draw 2 and then mirror them around a center line. Let's create a center line first. Hover over center line, left click onto it. Bring the cursor down, let it snap to the horizontal reference plane. Left click once, bring it down and round, and let it snap again to being horizontal. This will be our plane of reflection for the mirror. Go to the circle command, select it, left click once to start a circle anywhere around this area, bring it down any size, left click again. I'm now going to bring the cursor across and notice I get the little green line to tell me that I'm working at the same height as the other circle. Left click once, bring the cursor out, and you'll notice it snaps and shows me an R to show the 2 circles have the same radius. Left click again. I have no idea what the radius is at the moment, but we can come back and size those in a second. Let's go to the select command to give us some dimensions. I've just realised I want the 2 circles to be symmetric around the vertical reference plane as well. So I'm going to go and put another center line in. This will help me to make them symmetric. Go back to center line, select it, let it snap to the vertical reference line, left click once. Bring it down and round and let it snap to being vertical as well. Left click again. I can then go to my symmetric icon, left click onto it, and I can tell it I want the center point of this circle, left click, the center point of this circle, left click, to be symmetric around this center line, left click. You'll notice we now have 1 dimension, and also we have arrows of symmetry showing the 2 circles are symmetric. I'm going to go to my select command and go and change some of the dimensions that I've got. Go to select, double click the value. The circles have a distance of 70 mil between them, so I'm doing half that distance, so 35, and enter. And again 35 in this direction also. Click away to accept it. I can then set the diameter of the circle to be 8.2 mil. Double click it. Enter. And click away. We can now mirror the 2 circles. I need to select the circle, so I'm going to select the 1 circle, hold the control key down, select the other circle, and you'll now notice that the mirror icon has become active. Select it, and then select the center line that I want to mirror around. You can see the 4 circles are now controlled by everything that goes on in this one sketch here. We can left click onto the green tick to accept it, take us back into the 3D environment, go to AB, scroll down to trimetric, and to see what I've created so far. Creo thinks I want to do a protrusion to add some material. I want to make these 4 posts into 4 holes. I can change the direction of the extrude by clicking onto the change direction of extrude icon. Creo should automatically change this to remove material to create holes. If it doesn't, left click onto the icon. For good drawing practice, we're going to tell it to go all the way through the part by clicking onto the drop down and come to this icon here, extrude to intersect with all surfaces. This type of extrude will go all the way through this one part up to this stage. Left click on the green tick to accept it and click away in space. To rotate the part and to have a look at what you've created, press and hold the wheel down and physically move the mouse with the wheel held down. Release the wheel to stop moving it, and to rotate it back to your trimetric view, click on AB, scroll down to trimetric and click onto it. You can refit if necessary. Let's put the rounds and the chamfers onto the four corners. First of all, I'm going to left click in space to make sure everything is deselected. Go to my round command, select it. Note the dashboard changes again. And I'm going to hover over this vertical edge here. Left click onto it. I want to put a round onto two corners and I want them to be exactly the same, so I'm going to hold the control key down and select the next corner. Click in the dashboard and give them a value of 13. Enter. Green tick to accept. Click away in space. Let's put a chamfer this time. I'm going to go to chamfer, select it, and I'm going to select this vertical edge here. I'm going to press and hold the wheel down to rotate the part round so I can see the opposite corner. Release the wheel, hold the control key down and select the next corner. These should have a value of 10. Enter. Green tick to accept it. AB, trimetric. Click away in space just to deselect everything. Save the part. Click on the save icon and if necessary say OK to it. This is the base part that we will create all three parts from. So what I want us to do now, rather than having to model this part 3 times, we'll do File, Save As, Save a Copy. Name it middle underscore plate. Say OK. Do the same again. Do File, Save As, Save a Copy, and name this one top underscore plate. Say OK to it. We have now modelled 3 identical plates that will become fully independent, so we can now continue on once we open the part and put all of its various features into it. This ends this introduction. We can now move on to the second video.